Yes.
We met last year in springtime.
Right.
First time you're a US American citizen,
Yes.
living in Germany since about 30 years, as I know.
That's correct.
And when we met and we got to be friends very easy because you are such a handsome neighbor. And yeah, we had a lot of fun and we were laughing with the guys in the garden and so on. And then you were very astonished about a friend of mine who was looking for a job.
Right.
So, and you asked me, how can I help him?
Right.
So that was how we got into talking about business.
Right.
And I told you about my job and you told me about your experiences since you were young. And if I am allowed to tell the people watching this later on, you started with a very poor childhood with sisters and brothers, and your mother was a single mom working hard. So she had not a lot of money. And when you were young, you started with the National Basketball Association in New York,
With the
right?
New York Knicks.
New York Knicks in the NBA, and you made this for some years.
Right.
And thereafter, you started a real career.
Right.
How did you do this?
Okay, thanks. First of all, this interview is in English. And just like Hans Peter said, I'm here for about 30 years. And in 30 years, I've given about 2,000 interviews. And from about 2,000 interviews, this is the third interview in 30 years in English. So I admire my good buddy, my good friend, Hans Peter. If you think about it, 2,500 interviews, 3 in English. This is great. So, yes, I come from a very poor background with brothers and sisters, and my mother worked in a supermarket, something like Aldi or Plus or Netto. Obviously, she did not earn a lot of money, and it was a childhood with a lot of love, but it's very, very difficult. And one of the very few things I was able to do very well was play basketball. And I played for the New York Knicks for 3 years. The first league, the second league, the third league, and then after about 2.5, 3 years, the contract was not renewed. And my best friend, Leroy, we're still very good friends from childhood, he worked for the Deutsche Bank. And he said, Stuart, the Deutsche Bank loves professional sports players, and I can get you an interview. And I had an interview. He said, but you have to get the job yourself. You can have the interview, I can guarantee. And I had the interview, and I got the job. And I started at Deutsche Bank on Wall Street many years ago.
So that's a real great story, and therefore you came to Germany then.
Right, I worked for Deutsche Bank on Wall Street for a few years, and then Deutsche Bank Wall Street sent me to Deutsche Bank Frankfurt, where I worked as a stock analyst.
Yeah, okay. So later on, of course he speaks German, I have to tell. Yes, he speaks German, but because it's fluent now, so we stay in English. And later on you worked as a consultant, you were a coach for a lot of board members, so Vorstandsvorsitzende in German, and you got a big network today. So, and that's what made me interested to talk about today, your networking system, how to get around with the people you're working together, as well the ones who are low-leveled in the network, as the youngsters, and of course the chairman you're coaching. So how do you work with those people?
Right. First of all, Hans-Peter is definitely right. I've worked and still work as a consultant, as a business consultant for some of the very, very top names in this world. A lot of the names you would definitely know, companies you would definitely know.
But we don't tell.
Yeah, it's some things you obviously in business you can't say everything, but I've coached and I still coach some of the top names in this world. The names of the companies, the names of the people you would definitely know. One of the most important thing, I wrote down a list that took me 1 minute, and I'll go in the order. The most important thing for me, and I'm speaking slowly and as clearly as I can, the most important thing for me to tell you is your self-management, be self-management. How well, how intelligent, how well and how intelligent, and how honest, how do you manage yourself? Because if you don't come clear with yourself, you're not going to come clear with your customers or potential customers. Means you have to manage yourself in such a way that you always go forward. We're always going to lose a few times, but we want to come forward little by little. We can't win. FC Bayern doesn't win every game. The New York Yankees, they also don't win every game, but we want to win as many games as possible. And that has everything to do with your self-management system. Again, how honest do you manage yourself? What kind of goals do you have? Are your goals written down on paper? Do you look at your goals? Do you measure yourself? All the goals have in-between goals. Some goals may take 6 months, they may take a year, and that's why you have to check your goals in between. How well are you doing in this running of reaching your goals? My second point is understanding people. Menschenkenntnisse. You understand yourself and you move yourself. Just a little bit more this way, Hans-Peter. You understand yourself and you have a very fine self-management system. You've built that up and you continuous improvement. The second point is, how well do you understand people? Everyone thinks and ticks a little bit differently. And you have to understand every customer is different. There are some customers that are similar, but we want to treat every single customer individually. What's good for maybe for the Frau Schmitz or Herr Meyer is not good for other people. So you really have to motivate your customers and your potential customers, because when the customers see you, they have to think, gee, this is really the type of person I want to manage my money, or whatever services you're going to do, that your customers have to look at you like a forebild, someone where they look up to and they admire, and they enjoy seeing you once or twice or 3 or 4 times a year. It's very important. My third point is to explain the advantages of doing business with you. Where and what, wo and was, where and what are my advantages of doing business with you, and why? You have to, some people say storytelling, which is fine, but I go one step further. It's advantage explaining, then a Vorteile erklären, the advantages that your customer have with you, and to explain that and pack it into a nice story where people can relate to it and say, oh yeah, he's explained or she's explained my advantages, I understand that, and turn it into a nice, motivating, and honest story where I say, gee, no one else has offered the service. It's individual, it's based exactly on your needs, your benefits, your wants, and it's not a mass production.
If I may ask a question in the minute, that means you also do a little further. You go 1 mile beyond
the next step.
The next step with it. So,
you
live like next level while you're networking, while you're coaching, while you're working with people. You give them some extra information. Right.
That's the next point. Good. One of the most important points is customer recommendations.
Okay.
Kundenempfehlungen. In my life and the people that I coach, winning customers is great, but that's only maybe 8% or 10% or 12%. If you win a customer, that's great. Every customer that you win should recommend you every year 2 or 3 or 4 times a year. How do you judge yourself with self-management? One of the best answers that I know is when 50 to 60%, 50 to 60% of your Bestandskunden, of your customers, recommend you every year 2, 3, or 4 times, then you are in the first league. Then you play for FC Bayern or the New York Yankees or whatever your favorite team is, Dortmund or whatever. Winning customers is not enough. Of the whole picture, winning customers is about, for me, 6, 7, 8, 9%. That's great. That's the basis. That's fundament. And the customers, again, they should recommend you, your customers, deine Bestandskunden. They should recommend you 2, 3, 4 times a year. What percentage of the consultants reach that point? 90% of them do not reach that point. Only about 10%. And that's That's what you want to achieve. Customers recommend you because sie sind begeistert und motiviert. And your customers have to look at you again wie ein Vorbild. Du bist ein Vorbild. And the customers have to enjoy seeing you a few times a year, and that is the quintessence. Customer winning is great, but that's only 8, 9, or 10%. Customers to recommend you, that is your goal.
Okay.
And that's networking. That's
Yes.
networking from the finest point.
So I've seen your list. So we have some more points there.
Yeah. One of the other most important is I have a list, and I'll give this list to Hans Peter.
I'll write it down for you guys.
It's in English, and the next point is continuous improvement. Ständige Verbesserung. We don't want Stillstand. We want to continuous, Schritt für Schritt, little by little, ohne Druck, ganz gelassen. We want to continuously improve for me, every customer meeting has a few stages. Ich sage wie ein Schachspiel, die Eröffnungsphase. You want to win over the customer, or that the customer is very motivated in the first few minutes. And very few consultants continuously improve their, for example, the opening. How that's that your potential customer is immediately motivated, and he sees, well, gee, this is a great. I never had a meeting like this before. This lady or this man is fantastic. What are the Abschlussphase, the end of the game, where you want to really win that customer? That's zum Beispiel die Abschlussphase. There are different stages, and you will need to have continuous improvement. If not, then we have standstill, and that's not what you want. You want continuous improvement, little by little, like a basketball team, like a soccer or football team. You want to always continuously improve yourself.
Yes.
It should be, or it must be, next point, a win-win situation. Das heißt, you've explained the advantages of working with me as your consultant, and the customer, again, you have to explain the advantages of working. Why? Ausgerechnet mit dir? Why? What are the advantages? And it has to be win-win. The customer sees, I've gotten now a great Beratung, a great meeting, and I now fully understand that. And now I thought about my sister, or meine Cousine, or my good friend, and I will recommend you because I'm totally begeistert und motiviert. And the last point is do what you love what you do, and have fun. Yep. You should love your work. You consultants, you have a great job. What you do is you make not only the financial life, but you make things a lot easier for people because you're very good at what you do, and you're improving the situation of your customer. For example, I don't know anything about mechanics. When my car gets broken, I go to eine Werkstatt, and they help me. Or you go to a doctor or to a dentist. And it's all about helping people. And again, you have to do what you love what you do, have fun, and that's all under this one subject of networking. And again, that's all combined for me in your selbstmanagement System. And the better, ich sage es jetzt auf Deutsch, je besser du dich selbst verstehst und kennst, wenn du dich selbst mit dir selbst nicht klar kommst, dann kommst du mit deinen Kunden nicht klar. Und darum geht's.
Yeah, you're right. So, as I know you are one of those guys, we are a little bit elder now, yeah? So you're one of those guys who take young people around and you tell them how the system works.
Right.
And how do you...
For large and for small companies and for many different types of companies.
I know, yes. And how do they accept this experiences you've made?
They love it. In most companies, we have a tracking system. When Stuart started with, say, my good friend Hans Peter, and we live a few meters away from each other, great guy, we have a tracking system so we can see each person, what he or she has done in the last 6 months, 12 months, how many customers, how many customer recommendations, how much they made, and everything else. And then we start from day one with me, and then we track it. Wir messen ganz genau, wir analysieren das for the next 6 months, 7 months. And I can honestly, to obviously tell you, 80-90% of the time, no one is perfect, but 80-90% of the time, die Umsätze, die Gewinne, the number of customers goes up increasingly.
Ja.
Glück ist keine Glückssache, nicht auf Dauer. Glück ist keine Glückssache. Du musst deinen eigenen Erfolg selbst verursachen. Erfolg muss verursacht werden.
That's right. Stuart, to finalize this interview, we started talking about networking. We walked around a little bit because maybe our visitors are a little bit astonished what was happening all around. So anyway, we walked around a little bit about coaching.
Right.
And you've made a list which I will postpone to the people who were watching this. And at least when you do coaching, you do networking. Is this the release at the very end? So
for me, but they're about the same. I want to coach. When I coach people, I want them obviously to be as successful as possible.
Is this the extra mile you're going? So you give them some coaching, you give them some idea how to manage life, how to manage the job, and that's how we got together. So because this was the story when we met the first time as neighbors, and I said, hey, do you like to go to with my birthday party?
Right.
And we were with a lot of guys in the garden and drank beer, and we had a lot of fun. And I did not know anything about his purposes and his job profession. So. Was just having fun, and then it started with the neighborhood talking and so on. And
I'll take over from here. And one of Hans Peter's good friends was sitting next to me. Oh, we're all buddies. Wir sind alle Freunde. And it kind of hurt me that a very nice person. It kind of hurt me. I believe he's married and has a couple of kids, and he got laid off, oder die Firma hat ihn gekündigt oder was auch immer. And it kind of hurt me. And so I asked this other gentleman, well, gee, can I help you? Is there anything I can do? And that's for me life. Life it's like the work. It's about helping people.
You're having the charity project, Stuart, for Kids.
Yes.
With the basketball Skyliners, Frankfurt Skyliners, which you're working with. And you take kids from poor people and handicapped people, you take them to the basketball so they can see the team spirit and talk to the basketballers. So anyway...
and we go and I take... this is important.
He's taking the interview.
Yeah, we go, it's important. We go and I go in with 500, 600, 700 kids. Yeah, 500,
it's great.
600. Hans Peter was there with his family. And it does my heart very well to give back 500, 600, 700 kids for a basketball game.
Yeah, and that's how I like him. Yeah? So anyway, it's 18 minutes 19 seconds now. So Stuart Truppner, my neighbor, and he gave us a great interview, and thank you very much for this.
I thank you, and I wish you all the best of health and success.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.